Well, most INFJs that I talk to, and when I say most, that really means most. It does not mean all. There are certainly exceptions to this. But most INFJs that I talk to speak to an experience of their childhoods as having been difficult, painful experiences, and experiences that were formative, certainly, to the development and solidification of their later character. But it's not so common. It happens, but it's not so common to encounter an INFJ who will say, I had a great childhood, I had a very happy childhood, it was the best period of my life, and so on and so forth. It's great when you hear that. It's just that based on my experience, or based on my experience listening to other INFJs, but also based on my own experience, it's just something that is not so common. And there are as many childhood experiences as there are INFJs, as there are parents of INFJs, family environments, educational environments, social environments, friends, and so on. But it's probably possible to identify certain features that are likely to make that period difficult. And as far as I can tell, one particular aspect of that difficulty is going to be that often INFJs are, as children, are going to feel quite different from most other people, more imaginative, more in their own minds, more creative, more strange, maybe in some way. That will have a lot to do with the development and affirmation of the NI function. But at the same time, this will be counterbalanced by the growing influence of the FE function, which is going to put a certain pressure on the young INFJ to conform to the recognized rules of the particular social environment that they're a part of. So we're back to this conflict between the intense craving for individuality and subjective expression of NI and the tendency that FE has toward social conformity and enforcement. This is not to say that FE is condemned to be like this. There can be more mature and more variegated expressions of the FE function, but this is what it looks like at base. And so in a sense, you find yourself in a position as a young INFJ where you don't quite dare to be completely individually yourself, unlike perhaps some other kids who will make that leap. They will be idiosyncratic, they will be odd, they will be strange. Maybe there will be some social cost there, but at least they will not feel the guilt and the frustration that comes from repressing that nature. And INFJs are more likely to do it because of FE. At the same time, although they will repress that side of themselves, that does not mean that they will necessarily access to the kind of reassuring conformity that others will be able to access more fluidly. And that's because NI, even when you repress its cravings, is still going to be there and still going to make you a little bit different. So often you'll have the benefits of neither belonging nor, the self-esteem that accrues from the affirmation of your individuality. And I think it's kind of, living in that very uncomfortable area between a rock and a hard place that is going to be difficult for the young INFJ. Now, you could possibly argue that this experience is necessary insofar as it fosters adaptation. It's what would it be like for an INFJ to ignore the demands of FE and just completely assert, and give free vent to the cravings of the NI function. And it's, like I said, it's very strong propensity towards subjective self-containment and expression. Perhaps we all need to be adapted to social reality to begin with, to the external world to begin with, so that we can then grow towards, as we assert ourselves as young adults, and orient ourselves toward different modes of being, such as the solipsistic mode of being, which I've discussed at length, and the ideal mode being the liberated INFJ or the spiritualized INFJ. I think it's quite likely that, it seems even commonsensical to suggest that you never grow, you're never born a spiritualized INFJ. There's always a path to follow, which is also why Jung always talked about the path of individuation. It is a journey. To some extent, it's a journey that is a lifelong journey anyway. And this might indicate that if true, and if this is a true, fact about INFJ childhood, in a sense, we INFJs all begin at the stage of adaptive submission. It's a stage that some INFJs will remain at for the entirety of their lives, and then there's other INFJs who will grow and evolve into other modes. They'll go through the solipsistic mode and ideally grow further then toward the spiritualized or liberated mode. But there's a case to be made for the fact that adaptive submission is unavoidable and that at least adaptiveness is necessary. Submission, I think, is not something that you could apply to an INFJ child. It's more so a conscious decision by the INFJ adult to remain at the level of adaptation and to submit in order to remain in that comforting zone and not to grow toward maybe more sort of self-assertive modes of adaptation. But these are kinds of thoughts that I've been developing recently, and I wanted to share that with you. What kind of childhood did you have as an INFJ or as a person of another type, and how do you think that it influenced the formation of your personality and your adaptation to the reality that you operate within today? I would like to hear more about that in the comment section, so let's exchange there. Also, if you wanted to know more about the INFJ, particularly about the various stages of adaptive submission, solipsism, liberation, and spiritualization, it's in this book. I'll go into much greater detail in the Infinite Soul, INFJ Life in the Modern World, looking at how INFJs can lead purposeful, meaningful, and valuable lives in a world that is often seen as hostile to us. There's also the Ecstatic Soul, which is an in-depth look at INFJ consciousness and its existential manifestations. This is the prequel. This is the sequel. Lots of reviews for this one. You can check it out. This one also has reviews. If you have got the book but haven't reviewed it yet, please consider dropping reviews. That's really helpful to me. You also know maybe by now that the Lifeblood, my channel, is my Patreon support to keep it going into the future. You can interact with me there. You can suggest ideas for new content, for me to discuss. We do Jung readings there. There's a growing community, and it's immensely helpful. It really, really helps. So please consider that. Okay. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.